in the comment section. But on the victim, the people who are being affected by this, I feel it's all about value. How do you value yourself as a person? Because one thing that I can tell you, if you're gonna live with a murderer in the house, somehow you are able to see the signs and the symptoms that this guy can destroy you. We talk about red flags when we talk about the relationships, that sometimes you can see in a relationship the red flag of a person you're gonna be with, and you're able to move away from that to save yourselves. Now, try by means to give you some steps that I was actually writing down. Talk about more and how I hope the world can see this whole entire thing in my own direction and understand how important it is to value yourself as a person and how you can keep yourself safe from actually getting killed. I think that's one of the most important things. How much you can do so much for yourself so that people treat you with the respect you deserve. You have to understand that this is very important. It's the respect you deserve because you are just living. It's not because it comes to the elite or the people who are high or what. It's the respect you deserve as a person. Just look at this piece of paper. I've made from this side. If you look at this piece of paper, it's so fine. It has value it can offer. I can use this pen of mine and just write some things on it. So it means this paper has value. So I can use it to do whatever I can. So it goes with money. If you have 100 puller or maybe what, there's value. But with this paper that I have, that I'm saying it has value. If every day I do this today, it still has value, but it has a crack. Then the next day, I do this again. When you look at it, it still has value, but they're not too cracked. Then the third day, I do this. When you look at it from outside, you still feel like it has value, but can you still use it for what you want to use it for? Then the next that you need to find yourself, and some tools that I'm going to talk about into this video could be the tools you need in life to actually understand, to learn how to value yourself as a person, to look at yourself in the mirror and understand that you are somebody who's worth respect. To acknowledge the critics that are happening within you. No, what are you talking about? The point is, learn to receive compliments. Be grateful for the effort that you put. Learn to forgive yourself. That's my number 4. There are more, by the way, like I said. My last point for today's video: practice affirmation. In the comment section, I gave so much that I could. If you're watching this on TikTok, I advise you to go watch the entire video of this, because I'm getting in depth over this. I'm gonna write my ads on YouTube so that you can just go connect and see what happens there, so that it becomes easy for you to reach me. And I'm gonna put some clips on Facebook as well, because hello guys, welcome back to another video. This is Sam and we are back again with another one. So if you have been watching my YouTube shorts, you could see that I gave a hint over my next topic that I was going to be covering when we are talking about some things that I want to talk about. Because if you look at what I was talking about the last time, I kept on emphasizing the fact that I didn't want people to force themselves to try to fit into a circle of friends or even into a community where you don't feel appreciated or where you're not even seen as a human being. So I just thought that I give a hint over what I was going to talk about, especially in the last video that I did. So if you go check it out, you might actually connect the dots and actually find out where I'm coming from. So today, what I'm talking about this week, what we are talking about, it's about value and self-worth. So we're going to be talking about how people should learn to value themselves and give themselves the worth that they deserve as people. Because as I'm talking to you right now, yesterday, a body came from UK to Botswana because a husband killed his wife in front of his children. In was it Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was in Scotland. So They were living in America. The woman was killed by the husband. So I didn't really know about the story until one man that I met up with came to me and he told me that the person who passed away is actually my wife's sister. She was killed by her husband in front of the children. And I was like, what? How do you do such a thing to the world? Why would you do something to a person? And also, why would a person allow herself to a point where somebody has so much control to a point of killing them? And I was like, okay, because I was working on this thing for some time, I was thinking of how I can actually talk about this, looking for a story to give it to you. So this just made sense to me. And not even wasting some time, if you remember a few weeks or months now back, another woman was killed by her husband because of a jealous ex and stuff like that. The woman died because of the fact that, I don't know, the husband felt like was in control or something like that. And I looked at it myself and I'm like, why are people being killed and why are people killing each other? Why do somebody has the power that he can reach to a point of killing a person and everything is just okay and we cannot say anything about it? How has the world become this evil to a point that somebody doesn't even care, can just take out another person's life and we just move on? So I was like, okay, to those people who are dealing with this, I'll talk to the people who have to find themselves, who need to find people who can help them with their anger because it's not normal. I'll talk about anger. If you want me, let me know in the comment section. But on the victims, the people who are being affected by this, I feel it's all about value. How do you value yourself as a person? Because one thing that I can tell you, if you're going to live with a murderer in the house, somehow you are able to see the signs and the symptoms that this guy can destroy you. We talk about red flags when we talk about the relationships, that sometimes you can see in a relationship the red flag of a person you're going to be with, and you're able to move away from that to save yourselves. What I'm here to talk about is to give you the tools you need to acknowledge that you can stand for yourself. When you see these red flags and they are not really good for yourself, you move away from this because you value yourself more than what the world expects you to do. Because we cannot keep living in a world where somebody keeps dying, where somebody keeps losing so much because they don't really understand what it really means to be a human being and what comes after you call yourself a human being. So I'm gonna try by all means to give you some steps that I was actually writing down, talk about more and how I hope the world can see this whole entire thing in my own direction and understand how important it is to value yourself as a person and how you can keep yourself safe from actually getting killed. I think that's one of the most important things that I have to highlight, as well as to put yourself safe. So self-value, when we talk about self-value, we are really just talking about somebody finding what we call self-respect and looking yourself, that you can come up and look at yourself in the mirror and say that, you know what, I am a good person and I think I deserve to be treated with respect by anybody that comes along me, and I think I deserve to be seen and never try to be forced to be something that I'm not. It's important because if you don't understand the respect that is to be given to you as an individual, we are always going to be in trouble because people can take advantage of people who don't really understand how important they are. So when we talk about what I'm going to be covering today, I'm going to try to tell you how much you should always learn to value yourself as a person and how much you can do so much for yourself so that people treat you with the respect you deserve. You have to understand that this is very important. It's the respect you deserve because you are just living. It's not because it comes to the elite or the people who are high or what. It's the respect you deserve as a person. I want to give you an example. Okay, let me take a piece of paper from the book that I have in me. Let me take a piece of paper like this. If you look at this piece of paper, just look at this piece of paper, or maybe from this side. If you look at this piece of paper, It's so fine. It has value it can offer. I can use this pen of mine and just write some things on it. So it means this paper has value. So I can use it to do whatever I can. So it goes with money. If you have 100 puller or maybe what, there's value. But with this paper that I have, that I'm saying it has value. If every day I do this today, it still has value, but it has a crack. Then the next day, I do this again. When you look at it, it still has value, but there are now 2 cracks. Then the third day, I do this. When you look at it from outside, you still feel like it has value, but can you still use it for what you want to use it for? Then the next time I come and do this again, now you can now start to see that it's losing the value that this paper could offer. I can no longer use it because it's now into pieces. And that's how human beings we are as people. The fact that you can say that I will let somebody insult me and not try to fight and stand for my respect, or I will let somebody insult me like I'm not even there, and it doesn't even bother me, and just allow something like that to happen and not say anything, that has to send as a red flag to you, because that you need to find yourself. And some tools that I'm going to talk about into these videos could be the tools you need in life to actually understand, to learn how to value yourself as a person, to look at yourself in the mirror and understand that you are somebody who's worth respect. If somebody comes and slaps you, you might feel the pain physically and it's okay, but there is a scar. Sometimes there's a scar that happens emotionally, or maybe the hit might leave you actually with a bruise that shows that there was a scar there. So because something can be broken as the paper that I was just holding a few minutes and still look as good as it is, doesn't always mean that it's okay. Because the more those small cracks keeps happening in a person's life, the more it's going to create that, it's going to destroy you as a person to a point that you can never fix yourself. And that creates what we call pressure. And if the pressure keeps building up within you, the next thing that you do, you end up is abuse yourself. How do people abuse themselves? Some people drink. Some people can drink so much that to a point that you can't even recognize that there's a person. Some people goes to drug addicts. They start using drugs and stuff like that. And some people look for anything to harm themselves, just for them to not remember what is happening in life. And that's what happens. And it all starts from the fact that you don't value yourself. It all starts from the fact that you don't look at yourself in the mirror and say that, okay, I am a person who deserves to be loved. I believe I deserve to be given as much respect as you give any person. And if you don't fix that, well, there's still time. You will lose yourself as a person. Most of the people that I've used in the examples that I started this video are dead. You are still alive and you're listening to me. It means there is a chance for you to find a way. So how do you learn to value yourself? How can you help yourself to learn to value yourself? I'm going to give you 5 tips. There are more, there are about 11. I'll give you more as we go. I think I'm going to do a part 2 to this, just to wash away everything in the next week when we conclude this. But I'm going to give you this first one. How do you value yourself? First, learn to acknowledge the critics that are happening within you. Oh, what are you talking about, Sam? Now you're just talking about how we should learn to not allow people to take advantage of us. I didn't say other people's critics. I said your inner critics. Learn to acknowledge them. Why am I saying that? There's always this voice within you that sometimes gives so much negativity to a point that if you just allow it to keep playing around your head, it can destroy you. But if you learn to acknowledge that, okay, it's gonna say this, but how can I be able to use that into betterment of myself and actually level myself up? How can I take advantage of this criticism? Because sometimes criticism comes from, especially the one you give yourself, comes from the fact that you are seeing that other people are doing something like this and you could have done it like this. So you are able to pick up the hints of how you can try to betterment yourself. It's very important. So what I'm just saying, I'm saying that when criticism comes, don't try to ignore it, because it will keep repeating and playing in your mind and it will destroy you mentally. Acknowledge the criticism that, okay, I see that there's a problem there and I know that I can work on it. The one thing that is so special about all of us as human beings, we have this power. I call it the grand power that God gave us, that we can take a particular problem and we can turn it into something amazing if we just work on it. So learn to acknowledge that the criticism will come, especially from you, and learn to deal with them the better way. My second point is learn to receive compliments. Learn to receive compliments. I'm going to give you an exercise, especially on the second point. I want you to look at yourself, how you handle yourself whenever somebody is complimenting you. Are you going to be the person who just goes, okay, thank you very much, okay? Or you're going to be the person who be like, oh, no, it's okay, just try to hold things so that things doesn't escalate because somebody is giving you a compliment and you're working by all means to try and stop the person to do that. Because as human beings, we have the problem of not trying to take attention of the whole entire room. We hate it, and usually whenever a person is complimenting us, it feels like we are becoming the center of attention. And we fear that. So because when somebody is giving us the compliment, we try by all means to stop the person from speaking. And you find that sometimes when you do that, you haven't received the compliment. The compliment came, but you left it in the thin air. One thing we are looking for is the power of positiveness. And sometimes accepting and receiving a compliment from a person can help build that little baby within you, the soul within you, to believe that it is worth more than what is out there. So learn to receive compliment, because it's very, very important how much it can help you to deal with whatever that comes, because you know that somebody gave you compliment about this thing. You can even do more as you could move on with life. Number 3, be grateful for the effort that you put. We have lived in a society where we are graded for everything that we do. We go to school, if we don't perform like this, we are not good enough. We are not seen as good enough if we don't do so well according to the school laws. So that has created that weirdness in ourselves, that we are not even able to acknowledge what we are doing if it's not a path. You understand what I'm saying? I'm in a class and my neighbor gets a straight A. Wow, amazing. I'm happy for the person. But the problem is this: I got a D. He got an A. So what does that mean? Who's gonna be praised between the guy with an A or the guy with a D? Of course, the guy with an A. That's how the society set it up. If you don't pass in your school, you're a failure. If you don't do that, if you do pass, you are the best. But guess what? That also creates this weird loop in our minds, in our body, that we now start to believe that if things are not giving us the results we expect, then we are not doing anything and we are not good. And that is a problem, because whatever you are trying to achieve in life, if you cannot acknowledge the effort you are putting into anything, then you will never achieve anything in life. And that is a fact that people always have to understand, that we are never going to get things to be perfect. We are never going to make anything perfect the way we want it. We can only do if we learn to acknowledge that we are doing something. So what I'm saying to you, be grateful for every energy you're putting out to produce something, because if you don't do it, no one will. No one will. All the people who have done it in life, they will tell you that they had to learn to be happy for themselves first before the whole world could join them. So learn to acknowledge the little efforts you are putting, either at your work, when your boss saying you didn't do well on your work, so that at least I was able to move from point A to point B. I know I have to reach to point Z, but I moved from point A to point B. And I'm happy that the day came to an end and there's sign of movement in what I'm doing. That's a very important lesson to always keep wherever you go. Learn to appreciate that you are doing the best you can as a person. Because if you don't, who's gonna do it for you? That's my question, and it will never change. Who will do it for you? So take that into consideration. Learn to forgive yourself. That's my number 4th point. Learn to forgive yourself. We are not perfect people. In fact, if we were perfect people, I'm sure God would have put us in a perfect world. But we are in an imperfect world because we are not perfect people. And the thing about life is that if you're not perfect, then it means you have to work to be perfect. Good, no problems with that. Everyone always has to work to show the perfection they could be as people. But it doesn't mean it's just going to happen like this. There are steps you take to reach to that perfect world. There's things that you have to do to reach that point. And one of the things is to learn to forgive yourself. If you ever want to value yourself, learn to forgive yourselves. And also learn to forgive the other people around you. It's very important. I'm not saying that you keep forgiving the people who are abusing you. Move away from those, but forgive them. Move away from the toxic people, but forgive them. Because one thing that happens, I'm going to make a series about forgiveness. I have so much to give when it comes to that. But one thing that happens when you don't forgive, there's this pressure that comes onto you. T.D. Jakes once said something that I will never forget. He said that forgiveness is never about the person you are forgiving. It's about you. Because by doing that, you are cutting the cord between me, the person who has been hurt, and you, the person who's hurting me. If I don't do that, it means that person who has hurt me, I'm always going to be living under the loop that he still has control over my life. So learn to forgive so that you can live a better life. But the problem in this case, if you don't forgive yourself, you can never replace you. You can't replace you. So you have to learn to forgive yourself so that you continue moving on. Because there always has to be the cord that is cut between me and you, so that the pressure that we were talking about, where people end up abusing themselves, doesn't build up in the mind. There's always pressure that builds up in a person's life. But if you learn to forgive yourself, that helps to build up the value that you need in your life. It's very important. Understand that. And my last, there are more by the way, like I said, my last point for today's video, practice affirmation. Mirror talk. It's been a while though, but I have to actually go back. Mirror talk is something that I've done and I've used for such a long period of time with my wife. We've been doing this for some time since we were even boyfriend and girlfriend. Trying by all means to learn to appreciate that we are not good people, but we deserve to actually hear good things about ourselves. So what happens is this: when you're looking through the mirror, it feels so weird to a point you can say that maybe I'm looking straight to myself. I'm looking straight into my being, that child that is within me. And I'm saying to it, you are beautiful. I'm saying you deserve more. You deserve to have a good life. You deserve to have an amazing thing. You deserve to achieve anything you can. The sky for you is the limit. You can do anything you want. You can do it. You are perfect. Words like this can build you up when you are down. And sometimes when you say it, it doesn't feel like it's working. Trust me, I've done this. It only works if you repeatedly keep doing it, because what happens is this. Our mind is like a tank. Let me use it like it's like a tank of water, which is weird to use, but it's like a tank of water. And what happens with our mind, whether you like it or not, words that comes from different direction, it takes them for the day. So the tank gets filled up every single day. That's why every time when you go to sleep, it's like you reset. It means the tank becomes a bit empty and you start again building it up. And usually 90% of the things that comes in your mind are usually the negativities that you're always pushing in your head or whatever you're watching. And when that happens, it means that you spend an entire 24 hours filling your brain with nothing but negativity. But with words of affirmation, they are so strong, they can crack any ceiling. So when you speak something good about yourself, reminding yourself that you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're breaking out so much that has been put into the tank, and it means then on top you are filling yourself with some good words, which when they dilute, they provide at least a pure you, not a perfect you, but a pure you. And if you continue doing that for days and days, you're creating a light that will spark brighter when time comes for that to happen. So always learn to do that. I actually advise people to do this in the morning, because in the morning your mind is still empty. So it's always good to start a day with good affirmation, and that builds what we call self-value. Because at the end of the day, we are trying, and I'm trying by all means to alert you that you can give yourself the value you deserve. You can value yourself so that people don't take advantage of you. You can value yourself. You can look at yourself in the mirror and see how much you are worth, because your self-worth gives you the belief, and that belief that you are amazing, you can do more in life, and you can go far with whatever you decide to do. So learn to value yourself. Learn to look at yourself in the mirror and say that, you know what? I deserve to be treated with respect. I will not allow any person to treat me otherwise because they feel like they can do it, because I'm a better person. I'm a better man, and I can see it within me that I am a better person. In fact, look at yourself sometimes and say, you know what? I'm a good dude. Because the more you do that, even things like depression comes to you, anything that comes to you, you are ready to deal with it, because your mind is equipped with the important points and the important feelings that is able to prevent you from being attacked with the depression and things like that. So I'm giving you a cheat code to fight depression, to fight things that has been destroying your stress and stuff like that. Learn to value yourself as a person. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I gave so much that I could. If you're watching this on TikTok, I advise you to go watch the entire video of this, because I'm getting in depth over this. I'm gonna write my ad on YouTube so that you can just go connect and see what happens there, so that it becomes easy for you to reach me. And I'm gonna put some clips on Facebook as well, because one thing that I'm trying to do is create what we call a perfect world. And in this case, it starts with you looking yourself differently in the mirror, by learning to value yourself. So thank you very much for watching. This has been Sam on the same channel. I hope you learned something beautiful today. And like I always say, I believe you are the best person to be in this time, in this set right now. And you can be the best version of yourself. I'll make sure that you are. Thank you very much for watching. I'm out. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. I'm out. Peace.